All right, welcome back to Keck Outdoors podcast. We are in my taxidermy shop. We've got 3 deer. I'm finishing out on the floor, and my cousin JT Hancock just come in from shoeing Lila and Sage's horses, and I've been after him for about a year to tell me this story. And I'll kind of set it up. The year was 1980. Ed Wiseman had killed the last grizzly bear in Colorado just a year before. So, to think back, the last grizzly bear that was supposedly killed in Colorado was in 1950 in the same location as in the San Juan Mountains. So, 2 hunters from Nocona, Texas, Joe Tom Hancock and Cecil Matson, packed up their gear and headed to the high country of southern Colorado in the San Juans. In Canales County, not 15 miles from where Wiseman had occurred, and a confirmed grizzly bear was killed just a year before. Today I have JT Hancock joining us, and we're going to learn about their experience on the mountain, Cornwall Mountain. Joe Tom, thank you for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, it's hard to hem me up. I know. I can't even hem myself up. All right. Well, you know me. If something kind of gets under my skin a little bit, I'm pointed on it all the time. I don't like something boogering me. Well, your uncle, Chris Keck, was feeding me all these stories for years about these grizzly bear attacks and these black bear attacks and everybody getting killed. And all the time I'd rear up and say, well, what was they doing? They wasn't paying attention. Now, I wish they'd been fishing down there when I was fishing down there, and it would have been different. Well, he just keeps feeding me all this stuff, and I'm getting ill at these bears. I'm mad at them. I'm not scared, but I'm not stupid either. So anyway, we're going to Colorado. I knew about the grizzly bear deal up there at Plateau. We're going up there with never even a thought in my mind about that grizzly bear. I mean, they're killed everywhere, and they just happened to be one there the year before. It kind of made us think all them times we was up there doing things, didn't have nothing. Might have should have had something with us when we were fishing about a mile and a half from where he got killed, standing there in the river. But anyway, so we went up there, went elk hunting. We'd hunted several days. I kept telling him big herd of elk I saw that summer. I saw them right up there by
Cornwall Mountain,
yeah,
Cornwall Peak.
By the reservoir.
Yeah,
Kerr Lake.
Kerr
yeah,
Lake
couldn't
up
get
there.
it out. Kerr Lake. Up there by Kerr Lake, right up on that, where that cabin is up on top, where that old sheep herder's cabin is. Yeah, well, so we'd go over here, and we hunted here and there in different places. And finally, one day, I said, "Dadgummit, let's go. We're running out of days. Let's go up there and look." He said, "All right." He said, "We're going to have to walk in, ain't we?" I said, "Yeah, we're going to have to walk in." But I said, "Just pull up there at the lake reservoir. It ain't that far. We'll whiz right up there. We can see if we're going to hunt there or not." We got up there on top, and we saw him and about 30 cows and 2 more bulls or so in there. And I hadn't seen that many elk at that time, but Cecil said that was one of the biggest elk bulls on the hoof he had ever looked at.
Wow.
I knew he was big. I just didn't know how big. All right. Well, we couldn't get to him. And we wasn't up there to hunt. We was up there to look. We had our guns. And no way to get to him was in that shaly rock at us. And on the side of the mountain we came up on from Kerr Lake, that just rolls right around the corner there, and it's a rock face. You can see it down there from the river to Alamosa. Look back up, and that's the back side of that old rock cliff.
Yeah.
It's a drop off,
Right.
And then the east of it kind of rolls off into some rolls and then dives off into that same mess. So there's about a quarter of that mountain back there where it's got big trees on it, and it's that old dark timber. When I've heard of that all my life, but it was one of the places that when you're in it, it's a little eerie feeling. It's like everything else ain't around you no more. It's dark in there in the middle of the day, and everything's going, it's crackling and creaking. And the reason they don't want you to camp in there is because that's where all that fell. Those trees are old, and they just giving it up, and they're too tall, and they get too much weight, and then anyway, so they're just fell all in there everywhere, and them kind that take 2 of you to reach around, them giant ones.
Yeah.
So, and off the back, and it did look like there was about 400 yards of that, and then you should be breaking off that rock cliff off the back. Well, we couldn't get up there to him because that shaly rock had us, and we was going to have to back out. And by the time we could get around where we were, we didn't have no light, and then we was going to have to come out of there. So we came on out, went back to camp, loaded our backpacks, got everything, told Crash and Tim where we was going. We don't know what we're going to do. We're going to be in there maybe the duration. We're going, and we're going to be there for a while. Maybe 5 more days of season left. We may be in there 5 days. So we drove up to Kerr Lake, put our stuff on, up that thing we went. Went right up that shady place because that's the closest you can get, but it's pretty steep. And you can go across that shaly rock, you just can't do it quiet. So we went across it and then got in there to that point, that dark timber. And the way the wind was blowing, everything, that perfect. Right in there is where you need to camp. And we were cold camping.
Okay, now explain to the listeners what a cold camp is.
Okay, we're going in there and we're going to slip in there like a mouse, wind-wise, and try to get where we think they're not going to be, and they ain't going to wind us. And it was happened to be in that neck in there, right up in that dark timber, back in there, right up above that cliff, that rock face that went around a quarter of that mountain. And we don't start no fire. We go in. We don't even want to take something that smells real,
strong.
Yeah, just something, just anything, Viennese or whatever, and just eats a little bit of cheese and maybe a cracker, and that's it. No fire. So we had our bags, and it's pretty chilly. It's up there, and it's winter.
Yeah.
But it hadn't been real bad weather. It had been doable. Been some snow off and on, not a train load right there. So we went in there. Got back down in that timber, kind of where we could get off to the one side or the other of it, where we could see around us, but we're not right on the edge and save us coming out to that clearing. Because when you come out of that timber, it opens up in a big round bowl, kind of like somebody's bald head, hair around the fringes around there and then slick on top, round.
Yeah.
And so we could just come out to our opening, which is, there was a little jag of rocks that went out there and some trees, and those elk would just come right up out of that snow or that side, pretty side of the mountain, and come right up there on top and eat. You'd stay away from everybody. Can't nobody get there horseback. And so we camped in there and sat down that night. Went out that evening, seen some elk. Didn't see the big bull. Heard some more elk, so they just didn't come out. We slipped right back down in our hole, and in the middle of the night, I remember the wind kind of switching, and hell, we didn't know what a weatherman was. We didn't care. We was hunting elk. So we was in there, and it kind of changed a little bit, and, knew the wind switched, and during the night, anyway, we went to bed pretty early after dark. Nothing to talk about. Wanted to be quiet anyway, so we went to sleep. Well, I can't sleep in a bag where you zip your head up, and I'm telling you, it was cold now. But I had my gun loaded to the hilt, 44 right in the bag with me. My 308 loaded to the hilt, bolt up. I latched the bolt to grab that shell and then lifted that bolt, and I've got it laid under the side of my sleeping bag. And a sheepskin and an army wool blankets on that under me. And we were laid in there where we put our camp. Were 2 big old trees. One had fell and another one fell across it. And we got inside of it and rooted right up there under that roll part of that tree. So nothing fell in there. Wasn't supposed to be in there camping anyway, right? And so if they fell, we might get lucky and survive the wreck, because we shouldn't even have been camping in there. They say don't, but that's why. Anyway, we ain't talked about a bear. We ain't done nothing. We've been walking and hustling and hunting and trying to climb and get up in there. So we go to bed. I don't sleep too good because I'm thinking about that big bull. I'm going to kill that son of a gun. He can forget it. He's done. He's toast tomorrow. Ain't nobody messed with him. Ain't nobody in there. Those elk are kicked back. 3 bulls in the bunch, 1 giant. We're going to kill elk.
Prime time.
You bet. So we get up next morning. Well, I'm sleeping. I wake up during the night, and I'm a pretty good sleeper. I don't wake up too easy. And I'm not spooky, but I ain't stupid either. Well, some people's opinion. But anyway, I'm not ignorant. But I woke up, and it's creaking and crackling and crunching, and that's all stuff. It just sounds like you're in a backyard with leaves blowing around you, creaking and cracking, but you can tell the distinct noises. And one thing in there, you can distinctly tell when something happens which direction it is. You can't see nothing. In the daylight, you can't see your hand in front of your face hardly, and at night, you poke yourself in the eye and you still ain't seen that finger, You can't, it's dark. And you can't see the clouds, you can't see nothing. Them trees are just canopied over you. And so I woke up, messed around there and kind of wallered around. We had all of our clothes on, We
Right.
took our boots off because we was going to fall out there in the morning, and we can't be starting around there eating breakfast, and we're going to open the deal, lace that boot, pick your stuff up and walk off. Well, thought I heard something. And I'm not spooky. Again, I thought I heard something kind of like that. And I thought, oh, there's stuff going on around here everywhere, I just ruffled up there and kind of got comfortable going back to sleep. Kind of like that. And I thought, now, bull crap, that's something. What is that? And I'm thinking, it ain't nothing, Now I'm thinking, you know what? About a few miles from here, I can nearly shoot over there where they killed a big son of a gun weighing about 600 over there about a year ago. And I'm not scared of one, but that one had to get here somehow. And there was other bears there, so that wasn't the deal, But we had our food put up over there by another tree away from us, so everything's good. And I heard that, and I thought, ain't nothing, And I'm up under this log anyway. By the time he went to digging around under here trying to get a hold of me, I'd give him a mouthful of that 44 or that 308, whichever. So I'm laying there kind of paying attention, but I'm not spooked. And it seems like an hour, but it probably wasn't but 15 minutes. I ain't heard nothing but just stick crack and limbs creaking and the wind blowing through there, nothing. And I'm just about probably fixing to kind of go back to sleep. Pretty loud. That was louder than the first one. I thought, now, this ain't good. And that got my attention that time. That's number 2. I've done waited a long time. And that wasn't coming from my right. That was coming from over behind me, kind of, up by my head, that way. And I thought, Well, I sit there and listen to all. And in a minute, crack, just like you took a stick about the size of your thumb or dry and just bend it against your knee till it really, real slow, and it goes crack, just pop, right there. Okay. That's where, over here to my left's where I heard the at. A stick popped over there. Now that was a stick on the ground. That wasn't a stick out of the trees, Pot Creek, and I've been listening to that all night. So that's got my undivided attention. And then about a minute later or two, I'm just laying there with my head out of the bag where I can really listen good, being real still because those bags make noise you can't hear good. Like that, and I thought, oh, okay. This is different. It's a different deal. I didn't think I heard nothing. I heard it.
For sure.
Yeah, and it was the first time I heard it, I was pretty sure it was behind me up against the other side of this log. The next time I heard it, it was up towards my head, where the stick popped, The next time I heard it, it was a stick pop. Well, that wasn't where the was, and I thought, he's walking around us right here is what he's doing. Bear, he slipped in here, he smelled a little food and us, and we're back up there in the boonies. It ain't like his hunter on 10-inch centers up there. We're the only Mohicans up there.
Yeah.
And he's walking around us. Well, I hear it crack another time or two, and left and in front of me and behind. And now I'm thinking, oh, crap, what do? Cecil's right there. I can just nearly roll out of my bag and have to reach across there to get a hold of him, is where his feet are, And but I ain't gonna wake him up. He come out of there shooting both hands. I know him. And I don't know how to, and he's deaf, you can't hear nothing, and I don't know how to slip over and tell him. And I ain't real tickled about running my head up hiring this log around me to go over and tell him nothing. Because, I mean, I'm hearing sticks pop on all sides of me, pretty close together. And every now and then.
Growling at
Yeah,
you.
just kind of a, sometimes it's just a, sometimes it's a, like that. And I thought, what in the world, you know? And so this is serious. I'm thinking, okay. I ease my hand out, unzip that sleeping bag of mine real slow and ease underneath me and slide that 308 out and run it right down in that bag with me, barrel up there by my head, reach down, my bolt's up, but it's on go. Everything's locked and loaded. 44's been under my pillow right here ever since I crawled in this bag. So I laid there and I know this time it had to have been hour and a half, 2 hours, no longer than that, but an hour. It wasn't no 30 minutes it was an hour and a half, or it was a while. And then I would hear long gaps in between when I'd hear something, but a stick crack occasionally, and sometimes like 4 foot from me, stick would crack and it, another crunch step, you know, and I'm thinking, he's on the other side of this log, he's walking right by me here. And then he grunts every now and then, and I know how they do, so I'm thinking he just, you know, kind of wanting us to move or something. And Cecil don't even know he's within a half a mile of it. And Cecil also don't know I've got my 308 in my sleeping bag with me with the bolt shut on it, and it ain't on safety. Cause I'm not just.
You're not gonna go out without a fight.
I borderline started to, if I could put this all together, my mind's racing. I'm thinking, okay, if I can get, because now I know it's a bear. I don't have to think, is it a bear? This is a bear. After I've waited for several times to hear it, it's a bear. You don't, all these things don't happen all around you like this, and every now and then, and it's not a bear.
Oh,
Not don't have to be a grizzly.
Yeah.
It may weigh a 150-pound bear, but it's a bear. Well, so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, waking Cecil up's out of the question, because I'm going to have to expose myself out of this log underneath it to get to him. And he's deaf, and he ain't going to be able to hear what I'm telling him, and by then we'll both get eat up. If it, you know, I ain't going to worry about it. Can't see nothing. I mean, zilcho. So we're laying there, and I think, okay, I'm just going to wait until I know I hear the and a stick crunches, and I've heard enough of them pops around me that when I know where it's at, and when I definitely hear that stick crack away from Cecil, you know, the other way,
Yeah.
I'm just going to ease up, because I'm bag zipped all the way past my knees, and I'm cold. And all I'm going to do is just sit up, and then I'm going to have to rock up on my knees, and I'm shooting ground level in exactly the direction that crunch
You're
come
gonna
from.
eliminate
You
the
dang
threat.
right, because I know where Cecil's at. He's right there. And I know what that thing has done circle me 2 or 3 times around here, cracking limbs, and I hear a grunt every now and then, and I'm going to light him up, and if I hit him, fine. If I don't hit him, that's fine. It's going to be his direction. I ain't going to shoot it straight up. And if it scares him off, then that's great too. And Cecil's going to come out of there like the dang Russia's attacking him, you know, and I'm going to have to be watching him, because I got to dodge the bear and Cecil. And so I'm sitting, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that. That's going to just rattle him. He's going to come unglued when I touch his 308 off, you know.
think?
Yeah, 4 foot from his head, you know, and he's going to think, what happened? And I may get shot. But that wasn't why, but I was thinking about it. I thought, okay, I'm going to have to do this right. So I was waiting for everything to line up perfect like this, and this has been going on about an hour and a half. He has a big coughing fit over Cecil. And I'm seeing it getting a little bit orange up there in the front of the trees there. I don't know what time it is, but I've been laying there a couple of hours awake listening to this bear deal, and cocked and loaded, and he's coughed and had a fit over there in his sleeping bag, and then I heard his zipper go zzz, like that right there. And know, and he kind of coughed a little bit. And he sat there a minute. I could hear him smell. Yeah, so he laid back, and I thought, oh, there's my grizzly bear. And then I thought, well, now, hold on, no. And he's sleeping. I thought, that ain't the grizzly bear. This thing's been walking around me here. I've been hearing stick crack right here, and one right there, and one right there. And you know what direction it come from, and it was a big stick, and it was loud when it cracked. And you hear other little things, but you hear that, no doubt in that. That ain't a coon come by and broke a 2-inch stick.
No.
You know, so
Something was
gotta
fine.
be something, yeah. And it's circling me here, kinda. Well, in a minute it's getting orange, and I reach over and, with my gun, pull the bolt back, butt of it, and I goose him on the feet. He's yeah, JT. And I said, yeah, I'm up. We're whispering, you know, because we're just right up there. We're gonna be on them. And I said, all right. He said, all right, let's go. We put our boots on, you know.
Had you told him about?
No, we were quiet. We're hunting. No. And I get up, and we both step up. Cecil before me steps over the log, and he said, JT. I said, yeah. He said, elk. And I said, do what? He said, elk. And he was pointing. And I looked, and it was dark in there, you know.
Yeah.
Dark anyway, just barely getting orange. You could tell something was happening, but it was dark in there anyway. And I looked, and I went, what? And then I could see a dark something move. Well, I'm thinking bear, but I ain't saying nothing. But, you know, and I went, elk. And I said, elk? And he said, yeah. I said, did you see one? He said, yeah, I seen two right here. They walked right by me. Well, the wind had switched. So where they were at was supposed to be we was good. Well, they walked up, and in the night, the wind switched, and now it's blowing out where we got to go, but we don't have no choice.
Yeah.
And so the elk come around us, and when we walk, before we get to the clearing up there in front, I've seen 7 or 8, and he's seen 2 or 3, and you've heard them crash in timber and running, you know, and doing things, and we just kind of park it like you're squirrel hunting, and then in a minute try to slip out, and then we don't see nothing that morning. And now it starts wind whipping and blowing. It starts snowing a little bit. We meet up there about 3 hours or 4 later after we slipped out there, and he said, I said, dang, that wind switched. I said, look back in there. Have you looked? He said, yeah, I looked. Because I'd slipped over and got me a spot where on them shaly rock where I could see, and it was green and black looking, yeah. And we'd been lucky and had pretty good weather. A little snow, but pretty during the day. And I thought, we better get out of here. He said, yeah. He said, this ain't good. Because we're a haul from the pickup.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we went back in there, and we just ruined it because our whole show, the wind switched. The elk walked right over us.
That's the stick pop.
The stick was popping, was them dang about 30 cows and bulls walked right to us, and they had to go around them big logs, and they walked on both sides of me. When I was going up there to the front, and Cecil, you can ask him, he saw it too. He saw pee with fresh steam, you know, and poop and crap, you know, where they stopped right up in front of it. You see them shadows, you know. What are you gonna do? I mean, we kind of had to, I just kept easing on because I thought if I could skylight one, he's a old big boy, I am going to ground check it. You know, if I see what I need to see, I've done seen it in the daylight.
Right.
And so we ain't talked about nothing. So we met back up, and now we're walking back down there to our sleeping bags, which is about 400 yards down in that stuff, you know, from the clearing out to Deal. We're walking down in there. I said, Cecil? Yeah. I said, you snoring, son of a gun? He said, he started laughing, you know. He said, yeah, I snore a little. I said, and you don't zip your dadgum bag. You zip your bag plumb up over your head. He said, yeah, I even had my toboggan on pulled down on my face. And I said, how do you sleep like that? He said, warm. I can't do it. I got to breathe cold air. Anyway, so I said, well, let me tell you the rest of the story, Paul Harvey. And he said, what is it? He didn't you know. And I went to telling him, and when he figured out what was going on, he got to getting tickled and falling on that log and trying to roll his sleeping bag up. He said, how long was you up? I said, 2 hours maybe. I said, he said, well, why didn't you shoot? I said, hell, I can't see. what if you'd have been stood up over to pee or something and I'd have shot you? And you coughed. I said, there was a lot of things going through my mind, and pulling the trigger was the last one. But it was an option because I had two of them cocked and locked right there on each side of me. I had my 308 in the bag with me, and I didn't wake you up because I didn't want to run my head out and get it tore off. I could just see him. When I would think about what things I could do, like I could get up and kind of get to where I could see, I would instantly think, yeah, he's done hear him right around you here. Run your head up. He can see at night. You can't. And he'll rip your head off, and you ain't got a fighting chance to shoot him or do nothing because your head's over there in the brush. And I thought, the best thing I can do, if he sniffs me and reaches under this log or over the top and it crackles that log, I'll just point blank him and let him have it. And but if he don't do that, I can't really. I want to have a little ahead of time notice.
Step.
Well, I didn't know what else to do. Jump up and squeal and shoot straight up in my air and then get shot by Cecil or whatever, you know. Well, anyway, that's what happened. The deal everybody didn't know is like the year before, and then Chris been telling me all them bear stories, and I told him what I'd do to one. And then I had one on me right up there about 10 miles from where one got that old boy.
It's amazing what your mind can get you to believe.
Yeah.
You know, being in total darkness like that. But
well, I couldn't 100% buy the noise. It was right. It was the right sound.
yeah.
But now that stick popping, and you got to know, we was in there. You can hear the wind blowing through the pine trees, and this is great big trees. You can hear a little steady kind of a in sync creaking,
Yeah.
you know, where all of them are leaning on each other up there, squeaking, been leaning on each other forever. And the wind had switched, so there was a little more wind. No wind down there where we were at, but those trees were just bending, you know, and doing. And I was hearing a distinct crack, like somebody just slapped their hands together right behind me, 5 foot right there. And then in a minute, like 30 seconds or maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes later, pop, one over to my left and maybe off over a little ways. And not little bitty sticks cranking. I'm talking about a crack, pop, you know, 2 steps in a row. And I'm thinking,
animal coming
yeah,
through.
it's got to be something big. And then it's deathly quiet around there for a while. All the other stuff's going on. And then I'd give one of them deals there. And then you'd listen for that. And you'd be, on tilt, boy. You'd be listening like sharp. And then crack had happened behind you, right behind you. Oh, he's walking around us right here, smelling. He don't want to come in here, you know. And he really don't want to. He don't know it. He don't want to worse than he knows.
He don't want any part of that.
Well, I was awake. And I sat there for 2 hours and went through that crap. And he was my grizzly bear.
Well, every time that we go up there to Plateau, I tell Lila and Sage about the bear on Cornwall Mountain, and it's always a good story to tell around the campfire at night because it gets everybody's attention no matter what. And I've been wanting you to share this story with the viewers, and we finally got it done. So JT, I appreciate you. I'm glad the bear didn't get you or Matheson.
And then one nearly got me in Hatch a few years after that.
Yeah.
In Cimarron
In
Canyon.
Cimarron Canyon, yeah.
That's another day. I'd already been de-bear-proofed before then. All that old black bear with 2 cubs wasn't going to spook me. I had a 12-foot grizzly, I thought, walking around me all night.
Circling in dark timber.
Yeah.
We're going to...
You know, a quickie, after that, Cecil was just, I'm telling you, he got so tickled in there, I thought he was going to die laughing because I was telling him all this, and he'd get tickled, and I couldn't finish telling him what all happened there, you know, and he was asked questions, and we'd both get tickled. And finally, we got her stuff, and we've had her backpacks rolled up and about done. And it's getting dark, and now snow's more coming down pretty big and blowing pretty good. And we know we've got a pretty good little hustle out of here. And I saw somebody up there in the clearing where we went and hunted that morning to edge of that. I saw a horse go by. I picked my binoculars up and run them up there. And then here come another horse. I believe that's Clarence Payne. I looked up there, and I guess him and John Ed Hinton were up there and had their horses, and we'd seen them once or twice, but they'd leave and go, and we'd leave, go in other different directions. And that was them. And I saw the second one, I went, that's Clarence. And I walked up there and went, hey, like that, and was hollering down in there. And I thought, hey, he don't hear me, you know. And, hey, and I was going to tell him, look, we've stomped all over this, and we're leaving out of here. And he looked, and he did something, and he picked his binoculars up, and then he rode off. And I thought, huh. So we went and got John Ed, and they would come, because John Ed didn't hear him. He said, hey, and he had to ride up there and tell him. And they turned around and rode back down in there to us.
So y'all traveled 800 miles on the top of a 1,200-foot peak to meet two more Montague County boys.
And they said, you boys know what's coming, don't you? We don't know what's coming. What do you mean? They said, hey, there's a storm coming in here, and they said, you know, better hunt and maybe tomorrow, and you better get out of here after that, out of Platora.
Yeah.
And that was the year. That was when it started, and that was the year that they had people snowed in. Remember horseback? They were helicoptering in, getting people out of there, and you couldn't take your gun, your camp, nothing, just you.
Right.
And that was it, you know. And they had all the guns that were left up there. Well, that was that. And when we left, me and Crash and Tim and Cecil was in front in his Blazer, and we were hitting those big snow drifts trying to get out of there because it high centers. Crash would pull us back with his winch, and we'd run, hit it again, and they'd wait out there and hook on, and we'd pound our way through it, and then Crash we'd go through, he'd goot us through it, and then he'd bore through it.
Golly.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Platora, Colorado is it's in southern Colorado in the San Juans, like we already said, but it's very remote. It's got the highest man-made reservoir, and at November, the end of October, middle of November, the town they shut the town down because snow.
They closed the road down.
Yeah,
the bottom.
they closed the
put
road.
bar across it.
Yeah. So it's a definite, very remote place to be, and still a wild part of the U.S. that has a lot of folklore in it. So, JT?
And some nerves still up there. I bet I can go up there and hear them deals creaking.
Hair stand up.
Well, I wasn't scared, but it got my undivided attention, and I couldn't never get no relief. I was 2 hours lived that horror story. It was like Freddy was coming after you with the axe, and you could hear him, and he wasn't there yet, so you couldn't swing at him for 2 hours. But he's right there.
JT, thank you.
All right.